And finally, how Jesus brings about this new birth. What Jesus says in verses 14 and 15 might have made more sense to Nicodemus than initially it makes to us, because Nicodemus, for all his strengths and weaknesses, did know the Old Testament. Jesus alludes to an Old Testament passage that some of us here won't know anything about. He says, just as Moses lifted up the snake in the wilderness, so the Son of Man must be lifted up, that everyone who believes in him may have eternal life. Now, clearly in this context, this eternal life, of which Jesus speaks, must be the product of new birth. If you have new birth, you have life. And this life is eternal life. It's not like this mortal life. It is eternal life, which is the product of new birth. And how do you get it? Well, it's just as Moses lifted up the snake in the wilderness, we're told. So the Son of Man must be lifted up, that everyone who believes in him may have eternal life. Now, the passage to which Jesus is referring, which, of course, Nicodemus would have picked up like that because he knew his Old Testament, is found in the fourth book of the Bible. It's called the book of Numbers. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers. In the 21st chapter. It's a very short account. I'll read it to you. They, that is the Israelites, who had now escaped from slavery in Egypt, but had not reached their own land, they traveled from Mount Hor along the route to the Red Sea to go around Edom. But the people grew impatient on the way. They spoke against God and against Moses and said, "Why have you brought us up out of Egypt to die in the wilderness? There's no bread. There's no water. We detest this miserable food." Then the Lord sent venomous snakes among them. They bit the people, and many Israelites died. The people came to Moses and said, "We sinned when we spoke against the Lord and against you. Pray that the Lord will take the snakes away from us." So Moses prayed for the people. The Lord said to Moses, "Make a snake and put it on a pole. Anyone who is bitten can look at it and live." So Moses made a bronze snake and put it on a pole. Then anyone who was bitten by the snake looked at the bronze snake, and they lived. That's all it said, the whole account. Do you hear what's going on there, though? The nature of the murmuring and grumbling, the whining and complaining, was bound up with a profound dissatisfaction of God. Once again, all the way back in Genesis 3, we find a repetition. That is to say, you make your own rules, you become your own God, you decide your own destiny. You don't trust, you don't delight in God or his sovereign care or ask him for things. You merely dictate to God, and if you can't have your own way, you whine and complain. And at the end of the day, it's death all over again. And they die. And if they are to come out of it, only God can provide the solution. It's a plain, flat-out, miraculous solution as the story unfolds. He tells Moses to cast a bronze snake and stick it up on a pole. And those who have the venom in them look at it and live. How bizarre. Nothing about make sure you say enough ritual Hail Marys. Make sure you do a lot of penance. Flagellate yourself with some whips to show you're really sorry. Fast. Do a whole lot of good works. None of that. It's as if God is saying, will you not learn? You people provide the sin. I provide life. You provide the sin and the death and the destruction. That's where you go. And the only way out of it is not by digging it out yourself, but by the provision that I myself make. You look at my provision and you live. That's the whole account. And now, a millennium and a half later, Jesus comes along and says, just as Moses lifted up the snake in the desert and people lived, so the Son of Man, one of Jesus' ways of referring to himself, will be lifted up. He's now referring to his crucifixion. On another stick, as it were, on another pole, a cross-shaped pole, that those who look to me, those who believe in me, will live. How could it be any other way? We've already seen that the God of the Old Testament can't be bartered with. You can't offer him something and make a trade. It's going to be out of his sovereign grace or it's going to be out of nothing. We've already seen that. And it's modeled for the Old Testament people of God, and now it's coming to a certain kind of fulfillment here. Jesus, on that cross, by his death, provided the means by which we have new birth. By his death, we have life. By his crucifixion on a pole, we begin eternal life. The new birth is grounded in Jesus' death. That's what Jesus is saying. And you receive the benefit of this not by trying harder or being ultra-religious, but by believing in me. Now, Jesus has much more to explain about this. In particular, in the next verses, he explains how all of this is grounded in the love of God. That is why in the next two sessions we will focus on, first, the God who is love, the God who loves, and then the God who dies and comes back to life. Thank you.